Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the First Universalist Church of Yarmouth. My name is Sarah Whitty. I'm honored to be serving on your Board of Trustees. I'm just so glad to be seeing you all this morning. A warm welcome to friends gathered here and to everybody who's attending via Zoom. So glad that you could be here too. At First Universalist, our mission is to explore our faith, embrace this community, and to engage the world as spiritual seekers. May we take these words to heart. If this is your first time to our congregation, welcome. We invite you to fill out a contact card, which is a connections card, which is in your pew rack in front of you, and drop it in the offering plate when that comes around. And then we can keep in touch with a weekly email called Channels and news of things that are coming up that are good things. For those joining with young children, we have a nursery down the hall, the end of the hall, and you're welcome to use that. Before we begin today's service, I have two announcements. And the first one's not really an announcement, but just kind of a little bit of how it works. In most Unitarian Universalist services, churches, the minister takes off regular Sundays, and in our church, it's Reverend Hillary's here 3 Sundays and then somewhere else the 4th Sunday. Some ministers use that for R&R, and some do other things. They can do whatever they want. And so Reverend Hillary often is addressing the needs of other ministers, filling in other pulpits, but this weekend she is with the Northern New England Ministers Association in association with them. And we all benefit from this, if you think about it, because she's getting the perspective and the support of her peers and more training and self-care. So as much as we love her and we miss her when she's away, we have an opportunity to hear other voices once a month, sometimes lay, sometimes a guest. And this is our guest this morning, Kai. So this is another example of shared ministry, and glad to have it every time. The second announcement is about our main farm supper. Wow. Delicious again, incredible. I don't know how many people it takes to do the whole thing. How many people? What, like 35 or 40 probably when you count every person who was involved, who made an apple crisp or helped out with some cleaning or cooking or, counting. So thank you everybody for that. We have some delicious leftovers downstairs for sale afterwards. And there's separately also a soup sale. That's separate money because the main farm supper money all goes to MANA, Maine Association for New Americans, and the soup sale is a separate fundraiser internally. Any other announcements? Okay. Let's take a deep breath as we settle into this time together. Our music director, Sam Chandler, will play us into our worship.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Sarah. As we've been exploring the theme of vulnerability this month, after each service, maybe like me, you found yourselves thinking about the masks that we wear and how they can protect us, but also hide us from who we are, hide who we are from others. And then I, this week, stumbled upon this poem by Shel Silverstein called Masks. Maybe you're familiar with it. I wasn't. It goes like this. She had blue skin, and so did he. He kept it hid, and so did she. They searched for blue their whole life through, then passed right by and never knew. It's so simple, right? Think of all the times that we cover ourselves only to realize that if we just removed our masks, we'd have seen how similar we are. But also by sharing ourselves, we come to know that our vulnerabilities are actually a vital part of who we are. And perhaps they even make us stronger. Later in today's service, we'll have the pleasure of hearing from Kai Fast, a beloved member of our beloved First Universalist family, who will share their thoughts about the duality of vulnerability and resilience, and of power and weakness. But first, we're called to worship this morning by the words of David White. This is excerpted from his piece aptly titled Vulnerability. Vulnerability is not a weakness, a passing indisposition, or something we can arrange to do without. Vulnerability is not a choice. Vulnerability is the underlying, ever-present, and abiding undercurrent of our natural state. To run from vulnerability is to run from the essence of our nature. The attempt to be invulnerable is the vain attempt to become something we are not, and most especially to close off our understanding of the grief of others. The only choice we have as we mature is how we inhabit our vulnerability, how we become larger and more courageous and more compassionate through our intimacy with disappearance. I love that phrase, intimacy with disappearance. Our choice is to inhabit vulnerability as generous citizens of loss, or conversely, as misers and complainers, reluctant and fearful, always at the gates of existence, but never bravely and completely attempting to enter, never wanting to risk ourselves, never walking fully through the door. So let's walk through that door together, shall we? I invite you now to please rise in body or spirit as we sing our opening hymn, number 391, which is in the gray hymnal, Voice Still and Small, and then remain standing after the hymn to recite our unison affirmation. Please join me in our unison affirmation. It's printed in your order of worship. We are united in seeking to increase love with justice and to constitute a free church open to all people, mindful of our past and drawing upon modern knowledge. We respond to the spiritual needs of persons and are devoted to the common good in community, nation, and world. We cherish the integrity of each individual and search for truth with reason as our guide. We respect differences of opinion and strive to be a democratic community. We are concerned with this world and open to the future. Please be seated. And now Mac will come up and light our chalice and lead Time of Wonder.
Give me a second. We have a friend joining us today. All right. Hey, DB. How are you? I'm always so happy when you join us at church. Wow, Mac. Thanks for saying that. I'm happy to be at church now, too. I know that the first couple of times I was nervous, but now I've come out of my shell. Really, DB, you were nervous? You always seem super friendly and outgoing. What made you nervous? Well, honestly, Mac, I was nervous because, well, I'm a monster. People have a lot of assumptions about monsters, about how we think and how we feel. Most monsters are friendly and outgoing like me. But some people think that monsters are angry and sometimes mean. I'm not like that. I like to share my feelings, and yeah, I get angry sometimes, but most of the time I'm a pretty chill guy. Oh, DB, I'm really happy you shared this with me. You're right, people do have a lot of assumptions about monsters, but assumptions can really hold you back from getting to know the real people, or monsters. Humans can be just as angry as monsters. Why do you think that is? That's a great question. I can't answer for everyone, but I think I get angry when I feel like I'm being treated unfairly. Just like you might get upset when you think others are judging you because you're a monster. Yeah, you're right. The only time I feel mad is when I feel like people don't know the real me. Well, that and when my brother takes the last Oreo on Oreo Friday. Oreo Friday? Yeah, it's a thing my monster family has done for generations. We sit down as a family and we eat Oreos on Fridays. Well, that doesn't sound angry or harsh at all. You see, there's a lot that people don't know about monsters, and they make up stories that aren't true. But we learn so much by talking. I feel like I learned so much about you today. You have a brother, you celebrate Oreo Friday, and you are a totally unique, complex monster who is also... What? What am I also? Vulnerable. What does that mean? Well, it's our theme for this month. Vulnerability, the dictionary defines as capable of being hurt. You just shared with me that you felt hurt when people have assumptions about monsters. And I felt hurt too. We've got to be vulnerable and sensitive together. It made me feel a little closer to you. It made me feel closer to you too, Mac. And I also feel like by sharing a little more about myself, the people at church get to see the real me, the super chill, cool DB. Well, I love seeing the real you, DB. Well, I am excited because I have so much to share. Well, I guess that means you're going to have to join us for Time for Wonder more often. But now it's time for Children's Chapel. Okay, so let's say our blessing. We are Unitarian Universalists, people of open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands. Today in Children's Chapel, we're going to be making worry dolls and eating popcorn.
I don't know about you, but I could use a worry doll. MANA, the Maine Association for New Americans, is an immigrant-led nonprofit based in Portland, responding to many needs of the new Mainer community. MANA's 3 programs creatively bridge community gaps: transportation to medical, social services, and immigration appointments, safe one-on-one and group support, and matching volunteers with asylum seekers to ease the transition to Greater Portland. Our half plate today will be the seed money for a new youth outreach fund to organize community events and outings with youth. Imagine field trips, field trips this spring and summer to explore our state and local parks. For those in the sanctuary, we'll be passing the plate to one another. Those joining by Zoom may make your offering by clicking the donate button in the order of worship or by mailing a check to the church. All gifts are greatly appreciated. And now Sam will give us his gift of music.
Please rise and sing our song of thanksgiving. Rise in body or spirit. thank you for all you give. The time of quiet and candles is a time and a space that we create together. Before we light our candles, let's take a minute of silence in appreciation and connection. And now I welcome Kai Fast to our pulpit.
Good morning. Our reading this morning is Gentleness in the Living by Richard S. Gilbert. Be gentle with one another. It is a cry from the lives of people battered by thoughtless words and brutal deeds. It comes from the lips of those who speak them and the lives of those who do them. Who of us can look inside another and know what is there? Of hope and hurt, of promise and pain? Or who can know from what far places each has come? Or to what far places each may hope to go? Our lives are like fragile eggs. They crack and the substance escapes. Handle with care. Handle with exceedingly tender care. For there are human beings within, human beings as vulnerable as we are, who feel as we feel, who hurt as we hurt. Life is too transient to be cruel with one another. It is too short for thoughtlessness, too brief for hurting. Life is long enough for caring. It is lasting enough for sharing, precious enough for love. Be gentle with one another. This next reading is from Kai Fast. It was written last night. That's a joke. It's not actually true. It was written the night before. Anyways, all right. I have ADHD. What does that mean? The acronym stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, but that's a bit of a misnomer. It's a big misnomer. What it actually means is that every day I wake up and I flip a coin, and on one side of the coin is pure magic, and on the other side is that a little emoticon of like a poopy. If I win, I create something beautiful with my bare hands, or I beat my way through a jungle of messy house, cluttered garage, disastrous workshop, or I fire off a flurry of emails and wrap up a week's worth of tasks at work, in a day. If I lose, I get stuck playing Sudoku for 6 hours. If you've never experienced the misery of executive dysfunction, let me explain it to you. You are trapped inside your body. You are screaming, "Do the thing!" You are kicking and thrashing and begging your body to just move. You are reciting the list. You know the list? The list of things that absolutely need to be done today. Inside your head is an overwhelming cacophony of pleading and reminders and directives and expletives, and in your chest is this growing lump, this tightening, this rapid heart beating, this creeping fog of dread and shame. This is what it looks like to you. But usually I'm laying on the couch. The vulnerability in ADHD is not in its misleading acronym. ADHD is a deficit of dopamine, which basically means that the base level of dopamine that normal people require to make themselves move their body to the kitchen sink or the stack of bills or whatever their job is simply doesn't exist in my body. I am a car that is always running on fumes. In order to get anywhere, I need some help from outside myself. And before you get any smart ideas, you should know that you can't help me by pushing me from behind or pulling me with a tow rope. Both of my bumpers are wired directly to my brakes, and trying to force the matter will automatically lock my wheels for an indeterminate amount of time. Something I can promise you my mother is still grumbling about. If you're interested, that's called pathological demand avoidance and can be summarized in the following sentence. I was about to do the thing, but then you told me to do the thing, and now I'm physically incapable of doing the thing. It's a bug, not a feature. No, what you need is a giant magnet. I love magnets. Magnets make things move through the air without even touching them. Magnets can make things change direction and levitate, generate electricity, spell words on refrigerators. If you say magnet with a mouthful of beans, it sounds like magic, because that's exactly what they are. I'm glad that went over well. Please don't test it at home, it doesn't work. I am obsessed with magnets. That is what it takes to make me move. Obsession, fascination, curiosity. I am moving toward the thing with no effort of my own. It has pulled me into its orbit, and I will remain in that orbit until I am released, and no sooner. This is called an interest-based nervous system. It means that without the dopamine burst of genuine interest, it is very difficult to get things done. It also means that when it hits just right, I can remain focused on a difficult task for many more hours than seems reasonable, learn complicated skills in a fraction of the time it should take, and connect the dots between wildly divergent realms of ability in order to find inventive solutions to problems that have been vexing me. Excuse me. People don't usually let me talk this long. Here's what this looks like in real time. On Saturday, you say to me, let's grow some beans. And I flip the coin and get poopy. So I say, sure, whatever, I guess, and proceed to play Sudoku until 1 p.m., and then it's too late to garden because it's just so hot outside. Let's do it tomorrow, maybe. On Sunday, I flip the coin, and it comes up magic. So I leap out of bed, I throw open the curtains, and I say, I've just had a brilliant idea. Let's grow green beans, but not the bush kind, the climbing ones, and then we'll make trellises for them out of Japanese knotweed canes. But we won't make them in the usual cone shape because that's boring. Let's make them in the shape of elephants, no, giraffes, zoo animals. Each one is a different zoo animal, and we'll grow beans on all of them. And we'll have a whole yard full of bean animals. Oh, we're gonna have so many beans. I better look up some bean recipes. Oh, I better charge my tool batteries. Oh, I better find my gardening gloves. Wait, should we get the purple greens or the green beans or the green-purple mottled beans? Which beans? It goes on for a while. If you think that sounds annoying, imagine being married to it. Maybe you are. It's kind of silly, quirky, ridiculous, even when it comes to my personal life. But when I get to work, it takes on a more serious hue. Because while forgetting my wallet when grocery shopping is a mild inconvenience, forgetting to send a document at work can have very serious financial consequences. And while I'm sure my employer loves my ability to hyper-focus on a task for 8 hours that would have taken someone else the week, they're definitely not paying me to stare at the wall or Google something random like the melting temperature of gallium. It's pretty common for people with ADHD to hop from job to job, often because they get fired, to struggle with relationships, and to have pretty serious mental health issues. Anxiety is a big one. OCD is common. Imagine that. And ADHD and autism pretty frequently happen together. There's a lot of shame, frustration, low self-esteem that can come along with the territory. When you can't seem to hold down a job, keep a relationship going, or even succeed at the most basic tasks, things that seem easy for other people. but your brain and body just won't let you accomplish. Depression often comes as a result, and the risk of suicide is higher. So, what is ADHD then? Is it a disability, or magic, or both? I believe that it is one type of brain that is disadvantaged by the lifestyle we are compelled to lead by the majority culture, or capitalism. You pick. Anyone who knows me is tired of hearing me talk about capitalism. My mother-in-law's laughing. In the world we've built, it is important to maintain employment, remember many things, switch focus frequently, do boring tasks for extended periods of time, and do the thing someone else wants you to do instead of the thing that is currently lighting up your brain and making it impossible to see anything except the multiple uses of Japanese knotweed. There are a bunch, I can tell you. Let me take a hard left now just to confuse you, because that's where the track is going in my brain. I work in the construction industry, so let me make this a little more concrete. All right. Have you ever noticed that a concrete sidewalk has a deep line pressed into it ever so often? Or the zipper-shaped gaps at the either end of a bridge? Have you noticed when you walk past the base of a brick building that there are little holes every 2 feet or so? The building community knows things about building materials that can apply to all of us, including those of us with ADHD. Here it is. Everything, no matter how big and strong and hard and impervious, everything will break if you don't understand and accommodate the vulnerabilities of that material. Concrete will crack. There's no question about it. So do we just stop using concrete? No. The strengths of that material are significant, so we acknowledge the material's properties, accept its weaknesses, and accommodate them. For example, if you create a thin point at the bottom of a deep depression in a sidewalk, wow, I lost my place. It will break in that place, where it won't be a problem, instead of a long, crooked crack splitting the sidewalk in two. This is why concrete is always cast with rebar inside, not to make it stronger exactly, but to acknowledge the fact that while concrete being compressed is incredibly strong, when it is put under tension pressure, it will crack. Steel, by contrast, is incredibly strong in tension, but when compressed, it will bend and deform. The two materials have complementary strengths and weaknesses, so when we put them together, we have an assembly that is stronger than either of the two components. Buildings are made more resilient by understanding, acknowledging, and accommodating the full profile of a material's characteristics. Perhaps you already see where I'm going with this. We're going to go back to people now. All people come with a profile of strengths and weaknesses, or vulnerabilities. When the weaknesses compromise their ability to fit in with the majority culture, or their ability to be productive, we pathologize them. When the weaknesses compromise their ability to do things the majority culture doesn't care about, we allow them. This is why I have ADHD, and the people who lack spatial awareness blocking the whole chip aisle at Hannaford are just shopping. But let us imagine now a society wherein the primary organizing strategy is not the production and acquisition of wealth. Instead, we prioritize a harmonious coexistence with the environment and the health and happiness of the populace. What then would the DSM include in its pages? CCD, the compulsive consumption disorder, also known as too much shopping. ADOD, acquisitional demand obsessive disorder. How about TITNWIBTECAAH? The inability to notice when I'm blocking the entire chip aisle at Hannaford. Who's neurotypical now? I love you guys. Here's my point. Human beings would not be where they are today were it not for our exceptional ability to live in community, and our ability to do so has skyrocketed us to a rather precarious position on the planet. Are we the only species that relies on cooperation to survive? No, but we're not like ants, identical soldiers in lockstep. We're not the Borg, assimilating every individual into one drone consciousness. Did I lose you? Huh? That's Star Trek. We survive because we're different. We thrive only when we acknowledge and accept that's the way it needs to be. Listen, if the community needs some new technology or skill set, it's great to have someone with ADHD brain who can grok the need and descend into hyperfocus until the solution is found. But that person will break if they don't also have someone who can do things like tell time and prepare food. And the person who can prepare food can't do it without someone who knows how to grow that food. And if beans are on the menu, you definitely need someone who knows the properties of Japanese knotweed and how to turn it into animal-shaped trellises. This is why diversity is not a feel-good checkbox. We don't desire and advocate for diversity in our communities because it makes us all feel happy and included. In fact, many ways, diversity forces us to confront one another in ways that can feel uncomfortable. But we need diversity in our communities because it makes us stronger. The more diverse we are, the more we are seen, understood, and embraced in our communities, the more resilient we become. In fact, the only time our vulnerabilities truly compromise our resiliency is when they are ignored or when we are isolated. So with that, I will leave you with the pivotal Vulcan teaching of Kol Utshan. The glory of creation is in its infinite diversity. That's Star Trek again. Thank you for indulging me.
Thank you, Kai. I don't know whether to laugh or cry or what. I feel definitely that we got the magic side of the coin today. So I just need to take a deep breath. Maybe you can all join me in taking a deep breath. And then please rise and body your spirit as we sing our closing hymn, number 1012, which is in the Teal hymnal, When I Am Frightened.
When I am frightened, will you reassure me? When I'm uncertain, will you hold my hand? Will you be strong for me, sing to me quietly? Will you share some of your stories with me? If you will show me compassion,
be seated. Our blessing this morning is by the Reverend Joan Johnson Lewis. May we have the courage to open ourselves to the pleasures and wounds of life. May we have the strength to be open and honest with ourselves and others, even when it is difficult. May we have the wisdom to understand that when we travel through the mist of uncertainty, openness and vulnerability make it more possible to find the way through that mist. To be open and vulnerable is to be alive. And may it be so. And please join me now in reciting our unison benediction printed in your order of worship. For those who come here seeking God, may God go with you. For those who come embracing life, may life return your affection. For those who come to seek a path, may a way be found and the courage to take it step by step. And now please enjoy Sam's postlude and then go in peace.